Nowadays, clothing prices are crazy. I'm sure everyone can agree on this. However, there are a few places that still have decent low prices. Ever wonder how they can stay afloat in this economy? Well, domestic slavery is alive today and has taken the form of sweatshops used by the fast fashion industry. You may be wondering, why is this important to me, or why I'm mentioning this? Well, places like H&M and Shein are called fast fashion. And what that means is they are constantly rotating products, styles, and continuously trying to keep up with the ever-changing trends of today's society. This means they must produce clothing quickly and cheaply. So they utilize factories in other countries that we refer to as sweatshops. I have compiled some research articles, so I have the right information to give you a quality informational introduction to the topic of sweatshops. Today I will talk to you about these sweatshops, the conditions the workers are in, their overall pay, and how this constitutes as domestic slavery, and how these businesses are able to use this process legally without consequences. Now that we've warmed up, let's move on to the condition of these sweatshops. Sweatshops are recognizable by their horrible conditions and health hazards the workers have to endure. According to the research compiled by Earth.org and the National Library of Medicine, sweatshops studied in the areas of Bangladesh, China, and India show the conditions are unhygienic and unsafe, often working with dangerous inhalation hazards without the access to ventilation. They often also have to sit for nearly 14 to 16 hours a day with no breaks, causing a high number of back problems among workers. Most of the workers are comprised of women and young children ranging in age from usually 5 to 14. And right here we can see that 10 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 work in these sweatshops, and these are just in the areas of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Children work an average of 80 to 88 hours a week in these places, and they usually produce shoes, clothing, and rugs. The abuse they suffer experience sexual and physical abuse at the hands of most of their bosses. A lot of women report that if they complain, they are threatened with the loss of their job. And because of this, they can't leave and afford to look for other employment because of their very low pay. Now that you know about these conditions, you must be wondering what their pay is like. Well, let's talk about it. Workers on average make as little as 3 cents an hour, according to the facts compiled on theworldcounts.com. Workers are kept in poverty due to these low wages and often unable to support themselves even with their job. This is done deliberately, so the workers have no other choice but to stay and don't have the means to look for better employment or go to school. The reason they're able to get away with this is because of labor laws in these countries, and they're lax. They don't have a lot of child labor laws, minimum age requirements, and also don't have organizations like OSHA watching over the conditions of these places and if they're actually safe. As we can see here, a lot of people in places in Bangladesh, Cambodia, and China range from 82 to 46% of the population working under $1 a day. And in those places, 36% of those people and 34% of those people work for less than $1 a day. These places keep their workers in poverty so they can't leave. With all these conditions I've listed, it's no surprise this would be considered slavery, but let's go into this a little deeper. The textbook definition of slavery is a person who is forced, usually under threat of violence, to perform labor for profit of another, and a situation or practice in which people are entrapped, as by debt, and exploited. We see both of these practices in sweatshops. The workers are treated violently and are stuck in a loop of poverty and debt and are unable to leave due to these conditions. To sum all this up, sweatshops are where domestic slavery takes place. and it is still very alive today despite what people may say. Sweatshops have horrible conditions and pay for their younger workers, and also, along with their little pay, they're kept in poverty on purpose due to lax labor laws and a lack of minimum wage, and often suffer health issues that put them in more debt. You must be wondering why this is important, why I'm bringing this up. Well, I believe that it is important for people to know where their money is going, what it's supporting, and what the workers that work in these places are working in and what the conditions are of their environment. It is always important to know where your money is going towards and what it's supporting, and that includes when you buy clothes.